Hello everyone. Today, me and my friends from Group 2, which consists of Thessa Olivia, Michael Bagus, and me, Stefani Yudith, will tell you about the assessing listening, continue from the Group 1 presentation. Now, we'll talk about the designing assessment text in responsive listening. This is a question and answer format, can provide some interactivity in the slower and listening text. The test taker's response is the appropriate answer to a question. Now, the first example is the appropriate response to a question. The example is the test takers here. How much time did you take to do your homework? From the audio. And the test takers read in their worksheet is A, in about an hour, B, about an hour, C, about $10, and D, yes, I did. The objective of this item is to recognize the U question, how much, and its appropriate response. Distractors are chosen to represent common errors by learners. In distractor A, responding to how much, and the B is how much longer. In distractor C, is more frequent reference to money, and in distractor D, confusing a WH question with a yes or no question. None of the texts so far discussed have to be framed in a multiple choice format. They can be offered in a more open-ended framework in which test takers write or speak the response. The above item would then look like this. This open-ended response to a question. The example is the test takers hear from the audio, how much time did you take to do your homework? Then the test taker write or speak in their worksheet from what thing in their brain. So, if open-ended response formats gain a small amount of authenticity and creativity, they of course suffer some in their practicality, as teacher must then read students' responses and judge their appropriateness, which takes time. Next, designing assessment text in selective listening. A third type of listening performance is selective listening, in which the test taker listens to a limited quantity of oral input and must discern some specific information within it. A number of techniques require selective listening. The example of the selective listening is the listening cloze. Listening cloze texts, or sometimes called cloze dictations or partial dictations, require the test taker to listen to a story, monologue, or conversation and simultaneously read the written text in which selected words or phrases have been deleted. In its generic form, the text consists of passage in which every N word, or typically every 7 word, is deleted and the test taker is asked to supply an appropriate word. In a listening cloze text, test takers see a transcript of the passage they are listening to and fill in the blanks with the words or phrases they hear. One potential weaknesses of listening cloze techniques is that they may simply become reading comprehension texts. The test takers who are asked to listen to a story with periodic deletions in the written version may not need to listen at all, yet may still be able to respond with the appropriate word or phrase. You can guard against this eventually if the blanks are items with a high information load that cannot be easily predicted simply by reading the passage. And this is the example. The test takers hear from the audio like this. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have some connecting gate information for those of you making connections to other flights out of San Francisco. So this is the intro that the test takers hear from the audio, and the test takers hear the following sentences as they read them. Then they write the missing words or phrases in the blanks. So in their worksheet, this part is the fill the blanks. So as we see, this is the underlined word, and the test takers in their worksheet is to fill the blank. So like this. When the audio play, the flight 706 to Portland will depart from gate 73 at 9:30 p.m. So the test taker will write the 706, the 73, and the 9:30. Something like that. Next. Flight 1045 to Reno will depart at 9:50 p.m. from gate 17. So the test takers will write the 1045, the 9:50, and the 17. Next. Flight 440 to Monterey will depart at 9:35 p.m. from gate 60. So the test takers will write the 440, 9:35, and the 60. And last but not least, the flight 1603 to Sacramento will depart from gate 19, so the test takers will read the 1603 and the 19. Other listening close texts might focus on a grammatical categories such as verb tenses, articles, two-word verbs, prepositions, or transition words or phrases. Notice two important structural differences between listening close text and a standard reading close. In a listening close, deletions are governed by the objective of the test, not by mathematical deletion of every n word, and more than one word may be deleted, as in the above example. Listening close text should normally use an exact word method of scoring, in which you accept as correct response only the actual word or phrase that was spoken and consider other appropriate word as incorrect.
The second one is information transfer. Do you know about information transfer? Information transfer is a technique used to improve students' listening comprehension, where learners reproduce the message they hear in a new form, but the message remains the same. For example, when they listen and respond by ordering a set of pictures, completing a map, drawing a picture, or completing a table. And there are three types of information transfer. The first one, information transfer, multiple picture cued selection. So in this section, the test takers should choose the correct picture based on the description that they hear in the audio. For example, like this one. The test taker will hear this description in the audio, and then they should choose the correct picture between this different picture. And since the information transfer is a part of selective listening, what test takers should do is focus on the relevant information. Okay, relevant information. This is important so that they can choose the correct picture. And the objective of this test is to test prepositions and prepositional phrase location. For example, like this one, at the bottom, on top of, and location word like smaller, larger. So the test taker should focus on the relevant information so that they can choose the correct picture based on the description in the audio. And the next one is information transfer, single picture, cube verbal multiple choice. In this section, the test takers will present one single photograph, and then they will hear 4 different statements, and then they must choose one of the 4 different statements that relate to the photograph. Now guys, I would like to invite you to guess the right statement that describe this photograph. Which one, guys? He's speaking into a microphone. He's putting on his glasses. He has both eyes closed. He's using a microscope. Yes, you're right. The right statement is the last one. He's using a microscope. And then, the next one. Information transfer, chart filling. So, in this section, the test takers will hear a student's daily schedule, and the task takers requires to fill the chart. For example, like this one. They will hear Lucy's daily schedule, and then they should hear carefully the audio, the description of daily schedule, and then they fill the chart based on the description that they hear in the audio. For example, like this one, Lucy always gets up at 8 o'clock, except weekdays. They should fill the chart based on the description in the audio. And then the third one, the last example of selective listening is sentence repetition. The task of simply repeating a sentence or a partial sentence or sentence repetition. Individuals' ability to repeat the exact wording of what was just heard. For example, in this section, the test taker listened to a sentence on audio tape, and as it ends, they have to repeat the sentence they heard before the microphone. The audio is played once and cannot be repeated. When the test taker repeats the sentence, it is recorded. And there are some tips that the test taker can use. For example, like this one. Speak clearly. Speak as clearly as you can. And then don't make hurry. The best way is to repeat the sentence calmly. And then be careful about intonation patterns, pauses, and stress. We should listen to the audio with concentration so we can understand the pattern, pauses, and stress that the speaker has followed. And this is the example of sentence repetition tasks.
Repeat sentence. For this item type, you will hear a short sentence.
Most teaching staff make their lecture notes available online.
When the audio finishes, the microphone opens.
Most teaching staff make their lectures available online.
There is no short tone. So speak into the microphone immediately and repeat exactly what you heard.
And the next one is designing assessment tasks, extensive listening. Do you know about extensive listening? Extensive listening is a language teaching and learning approach that encourages language learners to be exposed to a large amount of easily comprehensible and enjoyable materials presented in the target language over an extended period. The goal in extensive listening is about understanding the main idea or ideas.
The next is dictation. Dictation is a slow, 3 times repeated process using listening materials, typically around 50 to 100 words. And the test taker is to listen, write, and check the answers when each material is played. The difficulty of a dictation task can be easily manipulated by the length of the word groups, or bursts, as they technically called, the length of the pauses, the speed which the text is read, and the complexity of discourse, grammar, and vocabulary used in the passage. As for example, here we can see a sample of a reading dictation. First reading is at natural speed, no pauses, test taker listen for gist. The state of California has many geographical areas. On the western side is the Pacific Ocean with its beaches and sea life. The central part of the state is a large fertile valley. The southeast has a desert, and the north and west have beautiful mountains and forests. Southern California is a large urban area populated by millions of people. On the second reading, it reads at a slower speed, pause at each double strokes, break, and test trackers write. The state of California has many geographical areas. On the western side is the Pacific Ocean, with its beaches and sea life. The central part of the state is a large fertile valley. The southeast as a hot desert, and the north and west have beautiful mountains and forests. Southern California is a large urban area, populated by millions of people. And the third reading, at natural speed, test takers check their work. The second reading, it's supposed that the test takers have to check their work and also fill in the blanks. Scoring is another matter because it depends on your context and purpose in administering a dictation. You will need to decide on scoring criteria for several possible kinds of errors, such as spelling error only, but the word seems to have been heard correctly, spelling and or obvious misrepresentation of a word, illegible word, grammatical or phonological error, skipped word or phrase, permutation words, additional words not in the original, and replacement of a word that with an appropriate synonym. The second is communicative stimulus response test. Test taker is presented with a stimulus monologue or conversation, and then it is asked to respond to a set of comprehension questions. The monologues, lectures, and brief conversation used in such tasks are sometimes a little contrived, and certainly the subsequent multiple choices question don't mirror communicative real-life situation, but with some care and creativity, one can create reasonably authentic stimuli. And in some rare cases, the response actually approaches complete authenticity. Here you can see the example of a conversation used for the stimuli. You will hear a conversation between a police detective and a man. The tape, you will pay the conversation twice. After you hear the conversation a second time, choose the correct answer on your test sheet. So the test taker will be given this conversation and several questions on their test sheet. Detective, where you were last night at 11 p.m. The time of the murder. Man, let's see. Well, I just staring to see a movie. Did you go alone? No, well, I was with my friend, Bill. Yeah, I was with Bill. What did you do after that? We went out to dinner. Then I dropped her at her place. Then you went home? Yeah. When did you get home? A little before midnight. And then we can see several questions in the test taker test sheet. In this case, the test taker are brought into a kind of crime story. The questions following are plausible and might be asked to review fact and fiction in the conversation. Question 5, of course, provides an extra hot shot of reality. The test taker must name the probable lies told by the man. He referred to Bill as her. He saw a movie and ate dinner in the space of 1 hour, which requires the process of inference. In this, the test taker must be responsible to extract the information from the conversation and choose the correct answer based on the multiple choices. The third is authentic listening test. The language assessment field would have a stockpile of listening test types that are cognitively demanding, communicative, and authentic, with means of integration with speaking. However, the nature of a test as a sample of performance and set of tests to be performed in a limited time frames implies an equally limited capacity to mirror all the real-world contexts of listening performance. According to Bagus 2001, there is no such thing as communicative test. Every test requires some component of communicative language ability. and no test covers them all. Similarly, with the notion of authenticity, every task shares some characteristic with the target language task, and no test is completely authentic. Having said that, we must note that recent technological developments have dramatically increased our capacity to create authentic assessment of listening ability. Computer technology offers a variety of situations and contexts in which the test taker can participate interactively in a communicative exchange. Video listening tests offer the advantage of stimulating real-life situations, allowing test taker to view body language and facial features and to read the lips of the speaker. That's all from Group 1. I hope you enjoy and see you on the next time.